In this video, I'm going to talk about Copilot Studio Kit. Now, Copilot Studio Kit is basically designed to augment Copilot Studio. Now, Copilot Studio Kit is a comprehensive set of capabilities which is designed to help makers test the Copilot. So, I would say this is kind of a test manager for your Copilot, which you build using Copilot Studio. Now, you can also validate AI generated content. You can track Copilot KPIs. You can also design some more complex functionality through a user friendly interface. Now, some of the functionality are available, some of the functionality will come in the later month. Now, this Studio Kit is also known as Copilot Studio Accelerator. Now you can find the GitHub URL listed over here. So I'm going to walk you through the GitHub site also. And this has been built by the PowerCat team. Now, Copilot Studio Kit, what is the purpose of it? Now, the first main purpose is to test. Now if you build a Copilot and if you want to test and validate whether the Copilot is behaving as what is expected based on your requirement, then this is the right kit to first test and validate the output or response. Now, why this is important is because Copilot completely relies, or most of the time it relies on the underlying model, and the underlying model may not give you, say, correct response. And so you may have to tweak and you may have to change the code, the underlying structure, and you have to go through that process to and fro, right? So if you really want to have an application which is kind of, I would say, mostly foolproof, and depending on your use cases or depending on your requirement, and if you want to say make it watertight, then this is the right application to have a look into it. Now, this is free. This is recently introduced by the PowerCat team in the month of July 2024. Now, the feature of this tool is basically you can run an individual test against the Copilot Studio APIs, which is called as a direct line, and the Copilot responses are then evaluated against the desired result or the expected result. Now, there's another functionality called as Azure Application Insight. So, if you use Azure Application Insight and if you've connected your Copilot to the App Insights in Azure, then you can also analyze the conversation transcript records. AI generated answers can also be validated with the AI builder prompts to basically compare the generated answers with the sample answers. So you can provide a sample answers, like there is a section in the application whereby you can actually specify like what was the output you were expecting and what output did you receive from the model back. Okay, so you can actually compare and contrast those. The tool supports basically the attachment match, topic match, response exact match, generative answers, response analysis as well. Now, this is just like a high level introductory video for this particular tool. However, in the upcoming videos, I'm going to go much more depth into the depth of this particular tool and try to give you some more real life use case examples. Copilot Studio Kit installation. So what you need to do, you need to go into the Copilot Studio Kit GitHub URL and then download the solution file. Now, once you download the solution file, it will be in a zip format. So what you need to do, you need to pick up a correct environment. Now, remember the environment which you have created your various Copilot, make sure that environment and the environment which you are installing this Copilot Studio Kit is same. Okay, so once you select your environment, go to make.powerapps.com, select the correct environment, and then from there start importing the solution. Now, once you start importing the solution, there are a couple of connections which it will ask for you. Now, one is the Copilot Studio Accelerator data verse. Okay, so you can just click on sign in and then it will allow you to sign into the dataverse connector. Now, there is another connection which it will ask, okay, which is Azure Application Insight. Now, if you have not previously configured Azure Application Insight, so ahead of time, what you need to do is like before you even import the solution, what you can do, you can go into portal.azure.com and try to create a resource group and then add Azure Application Insight resource into that. Now, once you have the Azure Application Insights provisioned, then take the connection string or the API key, which will come handy for you to use within your Copilot Studio. Now, this is the Copilot Studio Kit GitHub page. under releases, you can download the solution file. Now, what does the solution file contain? The solution file contains basically AI models, AI plugin operations, one application, and then there are other custom API request response. Then there is one custom page, and there are security roles as well. And there are in all there are six tables, which is currently used for configuring this particular application. Now, what is the concept basically? So how does the application look like? So the application basically contains test run and test result. Okay, so this is how the application will look like. It's a model driven application. On the left hand side you will see a configure and a test section, and the test will have test runs, test results, and you can configure the test set, which is composed of various tests, and then you can give the test and test set to the copilot and run that instance to validate certain things. Okay, now this is the Copilot Studio area will look like. Now there is a conversation transcript. So if all the conversation which has happened within your Copilot Studio instances, it will all be surfaced out in this particular table. Now basically what it does is like it has an underlying table which stores all the conversation transcripts. So that is getting surfaced over in this particular section. Now there are chatbot component and subcomponent. It will just list down what type of component type, description, and whether it is managed or not. So those kind of information will be surfaced. So this is just like a ready reckoner information for you to understand what kind of infrastructure of Copilot or the chatbot exists within your environment. So the Copilot Studio tab, which you see over here, will give you this information. Okay. Right. So let me jump into the demo. So now, before we jump into the demo, let me show you the Copilot Studio Kit GitHub site. Now here you will see this is openly available. What you can do is like if you want to know more about it, you can navigate to the site, and you can even download the solution file from here. So under releases, if I click on Copilot Studio Accelerator July releases, here you can view the setup instructions and documentation like the prerequisites, install instruction, configuring the various copilots test and running the test. So all these informations are stored over here, and you get an option to see the source code in a zip file or Copilot Studio Accelerator managed solution. So what you need to do, you need to just download this managed solution, and once you download it, what you can do, you can navigate to make.powerapps.com, and then from here just click on import solution and then browse through that particular zip file. Once that is done, it will be installed. It will start the installation process once you validate the Dataverse connection and the Azure Application Insight connection. Now, what I've done ahead of time, I've already installed the solution. Now, this is about releases. Let's go back and let's scroll through this particular GitHub site. Now, here it will give you an introduction about the PowerCat Copilot Studio Kit. It, as I mentioned to you, it's a comprehensive set of capabilities. Basically, it augments the Copilot Studio, and this kit helps maker test the custom pilot, and it uses large language model to validate the AI generated content and the track aggregated key performance indicator, which is like currently not available in the product, but then it is available due soon. Now let me show you this diagram. So this is an important diagram from a PowerCat Copilot Studio Kit perspective. Now there are four things happening over here. One is the direct line API. Now API is basically over here. It's a direct line API. Cloud flows run tests against this Copilot Studio API. So there are underlying flows which gets executed, and it runs those tests against the Copilot Studio API. Now, what it does is basically it creates a test results that contain all the Copilot responses like messages, attachments, etc. Now, from an application insight perspective, you see this section over here. It basically enriches the result uh, specifically which is generated using AI by answering the test. Okay. Now it will give you an answer. It will basically give you a summary or basically give you an information whether the question which you have asked to the copilot, what is the status, whether it was answered, whether it returned no search result, whether it was filtered. So what, how it fared out. Okay. So it basically validates the quality of the response which has been provided by your copilot, and that will help you to eventually test your product and then make your and fine-tune your product in such a way that whatever is expected or whatever is as per the requirement, it is fulfilled or not. From an AI builder perspective, basically this is about a custom prompt assess the generative answers accuracy. Okay, so you can compare the generated answer with the sample answer. So you have an option to provide a sample answer or a specific instruction and check how the AI builder has fared. From a dataverse perspective, it is basically enriching the results using the full conversation transcript. So you get a whole full transcript, detailed events, triggered topics, names, intent scores, etc. So basically, it will give you a list of all the conversation history or the transcript, basically, with multiple parameters in it. Now, as if you see over here in this diagram, it's direct line API, Azure App Insights, AI Builder, and Dataverse. So what it does is basically this four modules. Through these four modules, you will test the accuracy. Okay, you will test the functionality of your copilot, validate it against some pre defined data, and then you try to make your copilot as accurate as possible to your requirement. Okay, so that's the whole purpose of this particular Copilot Studio Kit. So this Copilot Studio Kit will help you to validate your copilot, right? Now, from a solution perspective, now, as I mentioned to you that I have already installed this ahead of time. So if I post installation, if you go into make.powerapps.com, go into the solution on the left hand side and then click on manage, then here you will see PowerCat Copilot Studio Kit uh, solution, right? Now, on the left hand side, here you will see there are models. Okay, so this solution has AI model, which is AI generative answer. Okay, so this is one of the model. So let me unzoom it a bit. Yeah. So AI generative answer match is the AI model used in this application, in this model driven application. There is one plugin related to AI generative answer match, and this is the main app. This is a model driven app, which is a Copilot Studio Kit application. Now, this is how the application will look like. Okay, so I'll come to this application in a while. Let's explore other things. Now, there is a cloud flow. So there are almost, I'd say, six cloud flows, which will run in the interim, right? So once you start running your test, then these are the cloud flows which gets triggered. Okay. Now, what are the cloud flows over here? So one is about analyzing the generated answers with AI Builder, assigning the tester role, enriching the app insights, enriching data conversation transcript, running the Copilot test, and updating the Copilot test run roll up columns. Okay. Uh, then there are couple of custom APIs like calculate rollup and AI generative answer matches. And then there are pages, security roles. So if you go into the security roles, here you will see Copilot Studio Accelerator Administrator, Accelerator Configurator, and Accelerator Tester. So these are the three different roles which will help you to configure, test, or administer your Copilot Studio Kit application, right? And underlying tables, there are six tables, which is Copilot test, Copilot configuration, test result, test run, test set, and the team. Okay, all are standard tables. Now, these all tables you will easily see in the model driven app. So now, jumping into the model driven app, as you see over here, this is a Copilot Studio Kit application. This is how the first screen looks like. So I've run a couple of tests just for testing purposes. So here you will see test studio and the Copilot Studio area. So if I go to Copilot Studio area and if I click on conversation transcript, any transactions which has happened, any conversation happened within your Copilot will be displayed over here. So this is basically pointing to one of the backend tables, right? And if I go into say one of the record, here I'll be able to see the content. Okay, so if you see, this is the actual, excuse me, this is the content basically which has been displayed over here in the form of JSON. And here you can see the bot ID and the AAD tenant ID in the bot name, schema name, as a part of the metadata, right? Then you will see chatbot subcomponents, like different chatbot subcomponent, like a file attachment or the transcript or the knowledge or the topics. Those all things will be displayed over here. Now, for just for one example, I've configured my bot to point to a internal source of PDF document. So this is the PDF document, right? So you can actually see the schema name, you can see the name, you can see the description, language, and you can see a whole bunch of parameters, okay, related to that particular chatbot subcomponent. Right. So this is about Copilot Studio area. Let's jump into Test Studio. Now in Test Studio, on the home screen, you can configure test set. You can view the test runs history. Now under test, there are test runs, test results. So if I click on test run, you will be able to see all the test which has been run over here, right? So let me unzoom this a bit. So here you can see the name, the test set, the configuration, what is the run status for all these four parameters, like the app insights, the generated answer analysis, dataverse enrichment, and the number of tests and the success rate. From a test result perspective, it is again an instance of that. So in the solution, as we have seen, that there are six tables which are involved in it. So that is Copilot test, test result, test run, test set, and Copilot configuration. So all is listed over here in the left hand side. Let's go into the Copilots. Now here in Copilot, what you need to do is first is you need to click on new and specify the name of the Copilot configuration. So you can specify whatever name you want. You can specify the region, and you need to give the token endpoint. So let me do one thing, just for testing purposes. What we can do is, if I go into one of the Copilot channel, and if I select say telephony, or maybe let me go into another Copilot, and if I click on channels, and let me pick up Telegram, okay, I'll copy this token endpoint, and just for an example purpose, I'm not doing anything, running a test, but just I just need a token endpoint, right? So I can fill the name, I can fill the region, I can select that region. And from a channel security perspective, direct line channel security, I need to select yes, and then specify if I am checking the channel security data validation. I can select the secret location as Dataverse or Key Vault. Now, in my case, if it is Dataverse, then I'll click on Dataverse. Now, how to fetch that value is you need to go into settings, and if your uh, the application insights, as you see over here, there is an application insight under Copilot details. But then, if I go to security, then under web channel security, I can copy either of the secret. Okay, so let's assume I copy this secret. So what I can do, I can go into this particular application and then paste the secret. Now, if I want to enable this feature results enrichment, so enrich with Azure application inside, I'll select yes, and then I can specify what is the delay I want for Azure application enrichment. So I'll just put 2. Similarly, enrich with conversation transcript. So if you want to again utilize this functionality of enrichment of this conversation transcript, you want to get some more insights on what has happened, what was discussed during that conversation, then you can again configure further. You need to specify the Dataverse URL. Now the Dataverse URL which you specify over here is the environment URL. So this is the same environment which I'm using for hosting the Copilot. So I'll put this over here. So let me put HTTPS and that's it. Now I copy the full transcript, yes. And generative AI testing, I can analyze the generated answers, and then generative AI provider is AI builder for me, right? So this is how you basically configure the Copilot section. The first thing which you need to create is the test set. Okay, so how do you create a test set? Just click on new and specify your test set name. Okay, so let me call it as Girish test set 001. Okay, so let this load. I think it's still loading. If it is not, I'll just go again to this test set. Okay, so first thing what you need to do, you need to create a new test set. So if I click on new test set, so I'll just name this as Girish test set 001. And once it is done, I'll click on save and close. Then there are various tests, okay, which you can configure over here, or which you can view over here. Now if I go to copilots, okay, and if I click on new, then here I showed you how to configure your new copilot configurations, right? You specify the name, token endpoint, and then configure various settings. We have already created a test set, and if you navigate to the test set which you have created, you can create a copilot test. Now here in this copilot test, you can specify the test name and you can specify what do you want actually. Okay, so I'll just name it something. If you see in the test type, you can specify the response match, topic match, attachments, adaptive cards, generative answers. Okay, depending on your selection, the form will change, right? So there is a response match, there is a topic match, there is an attachments, and then there is a generative answer. Now if I select a response match, then I need to specify various options like test utterances, what is the expected response, if there are any external variables which has been used, okay, expected generative answers, whether it is answered or not, or those kind of things, right? So this is how you basically get the response back once you run the test. Okay, now let me discard these changes and let me run the test which I've already created. So I've already created this Girish Skype run. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a duplicate copy of it and then make it run. So I'll click on duplicate run, and then it will create a copy of it, and then it will start executing this. Okay, so let me call this as number 2 and click on save. And if you see over here, this test is currently getting run. This configuration I have already created ahead of time, which is configured to get the token endpoint of the Skype channel. Now here, if you closely watch, it says application insights, enrichment, status is pending, generate answers analysis is pending. But over a period of time, once the test is run, once the backend power automate flow gets executed, then this will all be completed. Now if you go inside this, here you will see a lot of statistics, like what is the status of it, right? What is the success rate, what is the average latency, what is the test, what is the pending. So all this information will get populated once you configure your test. But the main purpose of this particular session was to just give you an overview of what does this application consist of, what is the purpose of this application, and how you can configure various test artifacts. Now in the upcoming videos, I'm going to cover each and every section. I'll take a real life example and then try to test various sections related to Azure Application Insight, chat transcript, conversation enrichment, and then direct line API. I'll run the test against the Copilot Studio API, and also I will get your information validated against the AI Builder response as well. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching.